Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Force Chatter. It's great to be back with you guys. It's been a long time, but we are here. And we've got what I think is a pretty interesting topic for you tonight. And we would love to hear what you think about this. I'm Eric, and I am joined tonight by everybody's smiling faces who I haven't got to see in so long. We're going to start with you first, Tom. How are you doing? I haven't talked to you in ages.
I'm good. I am especially good considering a topic that'll come up during this show.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to be back with y'all.
All right. I look forward to that. Lou, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Fun to be back here as well. It's been too long since we recorded the Force Chatter.
Yeah.
And in the spirit of that, I finally built my Lego Scout Trooper.
And?
I love it. I love those
Very nice
helmets. They're just fantastic.
I've still got this one right here that's just
been
sitting here, and I haven't built it yet. Maybe I should do that on stream or something. I don't know.
Scout Trooper was very quick, though. It was a very short build. But yeah. I got Vader now to look forward to. So Vader's my next one.
Awesome. All right, and Tim, how are you doing?
Fantastic. Yeah? Doing really well. It's I'm always happy when I can see fall happening. So.
Well, the best thing about fall is it means winter is right around the corner.
That's
Winter's
true.
Awesome.
What Tom? What were you showing the folks at home?
That's Ahsoka on the Mandalorian throne, of course.
Oh, awesome.
Maul is imprisoned right above my head, right there. That's his little Mandalorian sarcophagus.
Wow. Okay.
Wow, that got dark fast. So, Tom, you said that before we get into our main topic for this show for this week, Tom, you said that you had something to share.
Yes. So we've sort of chronicled my trivia journey here into this not a new trivia league, but a new league for me, the movie trivia Schmodown.
Right.
I won the tournament to earn myself a title shot. That happened back in late May, early June of this year. Mm-hmm. Had to wait to see who I would be playing, and the title match is available now. I won't. I'll give a spoiler warning that I'm about to spoil it. Right now it's a pay-per-view, so it's like $5 to get the link. In a week or so, it'll go live to the public. So if you want to stay unspoiled, don't go to my Twitter page and don't listen for the next minute or two. But having that spoiler warning out there, I had the match as a 5-rounder. We did it digitally instead of live since COVID is still monkeying with things. My opponent is a guy that knocked Alex Damon of Star Wars Explained fame off the throne. He had been the reigning champion for 3.5 years. Since 2017 was the last time that he had lost a match. And this guy beat him and then beat him another time to defend the belt, and then defended the belt again in July. So this would have been his third defense, or he was attempting to go for a third defense against me. Pulled out the win by a point. So I am your Schmodown star. I did.
Woohoo!
I won the match. So I'm the current belt holder as of Friday.
Wow.
To
be clear, we did not know this before he said it.
On the way to my house.
We didn't discuss this before the show or anything. That is awesome, dude. Yeah, congratulations.
There's a WWF style belt with the Imperial and Rebel logo. I'm going to do an unboxing.
We got to have a picture of you wearing the satin shorts like a boxer wears, holding the belt over your head, shirtless.
Yes. You owe us a picture.
No one, not even my wife wants to see that. I will, however, I'm going to reassemble my armor, my Rex armor, onto the mannequin that I have, and the belt, when not in use, is going to sit around Captain Rex's waist.
Nice.
Find some appropriate framing back here, but yeah, so it's a really good match. In spite of the spoiler, it's a heck of a thing to watch. I've watched it a couple times now with family and some teammates of mine in the league, and I've gotten nervous both times watching. The outcome is always in doubt all the way up to the end of the match. So
now,
it's good fun. It's
in case people are dropping back in, we're going to stop talking about the results.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So,
but I want to comment on what you just said, Tom, because in the past, I've had some of the endings spoiled, but to go back and watch the match is still a lot of fun. Like, it's still, because you get to, I mean, everybody watching right now, you're Star Wars fans, right? So you know some of this trivia and some you don't. And even if you know who ultimately wins, going through round by round in these questions and stuff, it's still just, it's an amazing journey through that trivia episode. So if you're just jumping back in, you don't know what happened. If you stayed through that whole segment and you know what happened, still go watch anyway. Yeah, it's fun. So the Schmodown, if you haven't checked it out, I had a funny talk with a guy that does sort of like post-match coverage, and he has a 9 to 5 normally up in Canada, and he said he got promoted and was talking to the CEO of the company, and the CEO had Star Wars posters up in his office, and he starts telling him about the Trivia League. And this is like a Friday, and the CEO is like, "Oh, that sounds up my alley. I'll go check it out." Monday comes around, and the CEO is like, "I fell down a rabbit hole over the weekend. I watched hours of these trivia competitions. I like had so much fun." He was like, "And this guy Thomas in the Star Wars League, I really like him." And he's like, "Well, you know," so he's like, "You have a head of a Canadian company that's a fan of yours." So anyhow, but it was a lot of fun. It's been a good ride, and you know, if things work out, you know, I may be doing a little trivia at Celebration next year, but we'll see. Nice. Cool. You know what we should do? You should run a little trivia contest for the three of us. That's true. I could do it in the same format, you know. We stay. The great thing is you don't have to, unlike Dragon Con where you have to keep up with all the canon, this is just the 12 theatrically released movies, including the Clone Wars. So it's and thank goodness, because nothing. I mean, High Republic and the Thrawn novels, I think, would kick my butts right now. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm way behind. So yeah, but good fun. Good. Awesome. That is awesome. So when it's, well, you said it's pay-per-view right now, so we should get the link for that and post it in the show notes. And then when it goes out of pay-per-view, is it still the same link, or is there a new link? I think they make the link public, so it's unlisted right now. Okay. And that's what you get when you buy the pay-per-view. Okay. So it'll go public. There's a live event that the first live event that they've done since the pandemic hit. That's going to be in Brooklyn on October 9th, which is a Saturday. I'm not playing, but I'll be there with the belt. Okay. So just to rub it into everybody. You can't win the belt from me, but I'm going to rub it in all your faces that I've got the belt. I'll just be here. That's awesome. Do a couple of victory laps. Right. Yeah. You know, people get to see it if they buy you a drink. Right. There you go. They can touch it if they, It's like the Stanley Cup. It just travels wherever. By that point in time, it'll have some Frozen stickers on it for my daughters, probably some marker and crayon, a Lego figure maybe stuck to it. Who knows? You're doing it wrong. Just saying. You know, it's gonna be like that year when the Rangers won the Stanley Cup and it went to all the seedy places that other places never brought the Stanley Cup. You know. That's right. Well, we will get the links and we will add it to the show notes here. But in the meantime, in the show notes right now, there's a link to our Discord server. If you go to randomchatter.com/escapehatch or randomchatter.com/discord, either one, that'll link you into our Discord server. And in the Random Chatter Network channel, we will post a link that you can go and watch this. I'll come back later and add it to the show notes. So that is awesome. I can't wait to watch that. I sat there. I did the same thing. I fell down a rabbit hole I didn't do like a whole weekend, but must have been like 3 or 4 episodes of trivia stuff. So addicting. I tell you, my favorite match is still Sam Witwer of obvious Star Wars fame, the voice of Maul and whatnot. He was not, I think he held the belt for a brief period, but he was a competitor in the division. So you can go back to from 2016 to 2018, 2019, and watch matches, including one at Celebration. Actually, they were in the room, Tim, right after the panel where you and I met, my Star Wars panel. They were in there right after, and Witwer happened to win that match, I think, that day. So little did I know things would come full circle. You always get celebrities who don't really know anything. They're just showing up for the job. And then you get some that are like really into it. And Sam Witwer, he is sharp, man. He is razor sharp. Didn't he run an RPG campaign for a long time too? Oh, that wouldn't surprise me at all. I think it's on YouTube. He doesn't need this, and he wouldn't need the source books either. He's just the guy is like all in on Star Wars. It's amazing. Yeah. All right. Before we get into the main topic, because it did come up, I didn't think I was going to get to do this in 2021, and I thought it was going to roll into 2022. Wasn't sure, like maybe in the first half of next year or something, I would accomplish this milestone, but I did it. I accomplished a milestone that is absolutely amazing. I finished Thrawn Ascendancy. Didn't think it was possible.
You're beyond me.
Mr. Zahn, if you're listening, I love you. I love you as a person. You're an awesome guy. I've met you several times. I love your characters. I love your books. This one book, one little book. And by little, I mean it was like, what, 37 hours long, Lou, was the audiobook?
I don't remember how long. It was a long book.
Yeah, it was a few years long. I'm just, it's the middle book of a trilogy, and I get it. So it's fine. I'm not going to diss it. And it was good content. It never felt like it went anywhere. And like now, if you ask me, what was the book about? I can describe what happens in the end battle and kind of the politicking going on there, but that would be a spoiler. So if you remove the conclusion, I can't really tell you what the rest of the book is about.
It was a bit of a slog, and I I most of my books are consumed on paper, and it took me a while. It was a heck of a thing, and the thing is, it was like you said, Eric, it was a good story.
Yeah,
but it just seemed to be like, to get through it, particularly the middle of the book, like the second act of the book,
right?
That seemed to be, because there's just so much. There's a lot of discussion and nuance with those central characters, and they just kind of kept, not that they kept doing the same thing necessarily, but it was tedious.
Yeah,
it was a lot of world building. I thought it was a lot of trying to get us more into the Ascendancy and what this new part of the galaxy is all about, and who are the players, and how does how the power structure works.
Right.
But you're right. It was a bit slow, but it was also good to get this kind of detail. For me, it was fun to be in Star Wars, but in an unfamiliar realm.
And it was interesting.
Yes, I agree.
Like, to me, the High Republic stuff, it was very similar, because you have to introduce everything is new. All the locations, well, not all locations new. All the technology is new. All of the references and the terminology is new. All the characters are obviously new. In the High Republic, I didn't find it interesting, and I didn't care. The Thrawn novel, the second one, Ascendancy, I did find interesting, but I still wasn't sure why I should care. So it was interesting. It was good. I can't complain. It was just really hard to connect to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, but
got through it. Yeah, and kind of the crazy thing is, for it to be this middle part of the trilogy, like, this was a lot of stuff to build, to then have the third book. Like, is the third book going to be the end? Is there going to be some continuation? I mean, I know this is a trilogy, but is it a trilogy that is set within a grander story? Because it seems like this was an awfully long fuse to burn, to then have it burn out in the third part. Yeah, like, there was a lot.
I'm kind of wondering if they open this up to other authors to write stuff in the Ascendancy. I mean, Thrawn's still his character, but in this new world now, I mean, this is a whole nother Star Wars universe, really.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and
that's why it's for the Thrawn show. You gotta get your subscription to Disney Plus.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I mean, if this all builds up into that, it was definitely worth it. But I mean, we know that they've been trying to get to the what's the name for it? The outer reaches of
the unknown
regions. Thank you.
I kept
wanting to say to the Ascendancy, and like, oh no, that's too on the nose. Yeah, to the unknown regions, and we know that they've been kind of building toward that ever since a little bit before Episode 7, I think. Maybe this is all playing into that somehow. So
I think I might care more if there had been a stronger thread of that, like, perhaps, and we've talked about this before, so there's no need to go down the rabbit hole, but if the sequel trilogy had really been built around Palpatine as the MacGuffin through all three
Right.
movies. You know, where you sort of get the inkling that he's coming back in some form in The Force Awakens, and it builds until he's back in the flesh in Rise of Skywalker. Then I would be I was really interested in the contingency and all that material in the Aftermath trilogy and sort of building this.
Yeah.
But to now know that it just sort of ends the way it does, you know, I don't know. I see where you're coming from on that front.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of trilogies, our main topic for tonight.
I was going to say exactly the same thing.
I figured that Tom set us up for such a good transition.
And
then I blew it by being meta about it and discussing the transition itself, but that's okay. So there is a rumor. There are actually a few rumors going around about sequel trilogies on the horizon. We are not discussing the one that is a reboot of the existing sequel trilogy, episodes 7, 8, and 9, because that's just simply not going to happen. It's not. We can talk about it all day. We all four of us know it's not going to happen. Most of you out there know it's not going to happen. It's as simple as that. However, there are some rumors floating around. One is about a Disney Plus series that we'll also include in the discussion here, and the other is about a new trilogy. Most of the rumors are talking about a trilogy focused on Ben Solo, which sounds kind of interesting, except a little tiny technicality. Ben Solo's dead. So it's...
What?
Yeah.
When did this happen?
He died back in, I think it was episode 2. I don't know. I'd have to go look it up.
Oh.
So... Episodes 10, 11, and 12, as they are supposed to be called, are not actually going to chronologically happen as 10, 11, and 12. They're going to more happen as like 6.5, 6.6, and 6.7. So allegedly they are focused on Ben Solo turning into Kylo Ren, Luke's Jedi Academy, the downfall of the Jedi Academy, that whole thing. Now there's a separate rumor about actually continuing after episode 9 with a new storyline. And then separately, there's a very, very well substantiated rumor that is actually got a lot of weight behind it, that Finn may be getting his own Disney Plus series, whether it's just like a single season, kind of like what they're doing with Kenobi. We don't know. Mm-hmm. But that of all of these rumors, that one is probably the most substantial. But I want to know what you guys think about it. Lou, tell me what you think. Let's start with a Kylo Ren, Ben Solo sort of trilogy.
I'm torn because I've said before that I'd like these to be new stories and something totally different than we've seen before. And there's plenty of stuff they could talk about. But at the same time, I mean, that would be an interesting place to live. We all know that what kind of happened, but we don't know how it happened, what brought about the events, where things went wrong. It'd be a fun thing to explore. But again, it's that part of the whole thing of, do I really want to get back to these old characters again and revisit this when we have plenty of things to talk about going forward that are brand new? We just got to do it well. That's the only thing.
Okay. Tim, what are your thoughts?
Here's the thing. I agree with Lou. There's whatever it is, a 30-year gap there where we really don't have anything substantial. We know certain things occurred, but we don't really have any significant story of it. Obviously, the big thing there is the Jedi Academy, which by and large, at least in terms of the characters that we know, focuses on Luke and Ben Solo. I am not a Ben Solo fan at all, and I really kind of could care less to get any more background on him. But that said, his time in the Academy is kind of a really important thing to the sequel trilogy. So there would have to obviously be some emphasis on him.
Right.
There's also part of me that kind of thinks that are they going to do this because they want to do something with Grogu?
I've been wondering that too. Yeah.
Is Grogu really the driving force behind the whole thing? Because I don't know that they ever had any intention of, filling in this blank before then.
That is true. That is true. Before I toss it over to Tom, a couple of comments in the chat room here. Fetmatic, wake me up when the rumors are true. You might be sleeping for a while, Fetmatic. That's kind of a long nap, I think. I'd love the continuing of Finn's story. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Joe asked, who would the antagonist be from the get-go? And I would say, maybe Snoke or the Knights of Ren or something. I'm not sure. Tom, what do you think?
Darth
Grogu. What do you think about this? Do you want to see Luke's academy and the attempt there and it failing? Do you want to see the transition from Ben Solo to Kylo Ren? Does this interest you?
No.
Okay.
No,
there we go.
I don't want to see it. I would point folks, you've got the story that's out there right now. So if you go pick up the Kylo Ren miniseries that Charles Soule wrote, obviously they don't have to stick to that. They could retcon that whole thing. They've not hesitated to do that to some of the other outside material in current canon. But it shows Ben, it shows his fall, it shows him joining and earning his place amongst the Knights of Ren. The thing that sort of is curious about this is that the leader of the Knights of Ren before Kylo takes over is a character just named Ren. Ren is going to be portrayed by Christian Slater in the upcoming Lego, this Halloween Lego show. So he's going to be a character brought off the pages of the comics and having a fairly substantial A-list actor to back him.
Interesting.
Whether that's anything, I don't know.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of Charles Soule. I have loved just about everything that he's put out. I wasn't thrilled with this miniseries. I thought it was okay. I thought it was decent. I mean, it follows him. It shows the destruction of the temple. It shows a couple of the Padawans there chased, basically, or three of the Padawans chase after Kylo, and this sort of battle goes on after he's destroyed everything. It was fine. It wasn't anything special. So I think about that in the film context, and you've got a writer as talented as Soule, and he couldn't quite spark the magic to make it really, really interesting. And this is a guy that's written some of the best Darth Vader material that's ever existed.
True.
And you're going to tell me that a screenwriter out there can somehow magically do better. I also think if you're talking a trilogy, you're talking nearly, I mean, it depends on how they space the movies out, but either 3 to 4 years or 6 years of content, depending on whether they're spacing a year or 2 years between them, in a substantial amount of resources. It's a lot. And you're telling me, and a trilogy story has to be marquee, right? That's got to be, this isn't like a Rogue One or a Solo, right? This has got to be like a focal point story. And I go back to some of the comments, or I don't know if they were public comments or just rumors about it, but this attitude toward the trilogy format within Disney and within Lucasfilm was that they were going to pull back from it a little bit, that it needed to stay very special. I don't see this being the special story that fits that mold, because also the huge problem here is, what are you going to do with Luke? Are you going to recast Luke? Are you going to get Sebastian Stan or somebody to play him? That won't be the same. Are you going to digitize Luke like in The Mandalorian? That was great for the little bit that it was, but even that seemed off. And so
we also, if just to kind of piggyback a little bit on exactly what you're saying, Tom, we were also told we've seen the end of the Skywalker Saga. Yeah. And it's not to say that we can't see Luke in something else, but a trilogy that involves him being the master of an academy, that's kind of Skywalker-ish.
Yeah.
Right. And we had the prequel we saw Anakin's rise and fall. The prequel trilogy was what it was. I don't need that again for Kylo Ren. I love Kylo as a character overall. Is he Darth Vader? Is he that level of character that I care that much about? No, he is perfectly fine in the trilogy that he's in. And if you want to learn more about his past, by all means, go read that comic short series. By all means, make it a trilogy of books. Give it to a talented author like Soule and let him run with it over 3 books.
And that's the thing.
And tell the story in that way.
It's perfect for books.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or
absolutely.
I mean, if
There's
they
just
want
so
to
many
do
more
film,
stories.
if they want to do film, do one film.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's. I think dragging this out into 3 movies would be nuts.
And so
maybe do a Disney Plus series if they really want to have some more character development in there or something. But
I agree,
trilogy of movies where movies, I mean, we've talked about it before, the difference between you can have 3 movies and you can have a Disney Plus series, and fundamentally they actually take up about the same amount of time, like viewing time. But movies are expected to be much more heavy-handed, much more hard-hitting, where the series can be a little slower paced. They can do more character development, that kind of stuff.
Right.
A trilogy of movies is nuts.
And I think that's why
I agree 100% that the trilogy thing should go away. I mean, like you said, do a series, do a limited series.
Well,
You know, I was thinking about this over the weekend too. We just celebrated the 55th anniversary of Star Trek.
Wrong podcast, Lou.
Somewhere I saw how many. I know, but it's how many hours of content they had. I'm like, that's a really good point. You know, it's like there's a lot of content out there that's been really good to watch. Not all was great, but good to watch. Do a series about this, about the Jedi Academy. I mean, I love the Jedi Academy books that are now legends. You know, this won't be the same story, but give me something about that in a series on Disney Plus. Be fantastic. If you want to do movies, let's get into the stuff like we had that would have been part of the Solo franchise. Yeah. You know, give me something on the Syndicate. Give me something on Kira's, takeover of the power. You know, that would be fantastic.
That's what
the characters that we know and we could fall in love with again.
Right.
It's not a real big risk for them.
So I'm going to say this because I haven't gotten to go yet. To your point, Tom, and Tim, you kind of followed in with this too. I think when you look at all the Star Wars content, the trilogies are really generational milestones. Our generation, well, 3 of the 4 of us at least, we had the original trilogy. Tom, I forget exactly where you were born and where you fit in with these exactly, but then
the nether regions of the 90s.
Okay, well there you go. The void. But then you had a generation where the prequel trilogy, that was their Star Wars. And then you have another generation who are kind of like WTF Lucasfilm. And so you've got trilogies kind of as generational milestones. And I think that, as you said, Tom, this is just not a topic that can carry that, which is why I think they are going to do a trilogy. I don't think this is it. And Lou, to your point, I think trilogies are okay. But they need to be, as you said, marquees, and they need to be generational milestones, and they need to be done carefully and rarely. But I think that they are working on something. I think it's going to be a continuation set after Episode 9. I don't think it's going to be Skywalker Saga in the sense that the Skywalkers are kind of out of the story. I mean, Rey is kind of a pseudo Skywalker, if you want to call her that. But I think what's going to happen is this is what all along, I think, they were trying to figure out when Lucasfilm, when the Disney buyout happened. They were trying to figure out, okay, well, we've got this thing for Episode 7, 8, and 9, but what's the future of Star Wars after that? They didn't know whether Disney Plus was even going to be a thing, whether it was going to be successful, whether The Mandalorian would be successful. I mean, Rogue One was still up in the air, right? Solo was still up in the air. They were taking a lot of chances with things. They were trying to figure out, well, we know trilogies are like always going to be good. So what do we do after that? And for our audio listeners, you didn't see my little raising of the eyebrows there, but, and I think that's.
It was like my dog when it does his head tilt.
Right, the ears go up. And,
what?
Yeah. So I think they were setting the seeds for the unknown regions all along, and I think that next trilogy is going to happen there, and I think that's what they were pushing for. Remember the Benioff and Weiss trilogy that was going to happen, and then the Rian Johnson trilogy. All of I think they've been pushing to figure out how to make that happen. I think we're going to see Rey probably involved in that, and I'm okay with that. I like Rey as a character.
Yeah.
I think Finn is probably a good character. I'd like to see him developed a little bit. And I would like to think that Poe can be a good character. His comic book series seemed okay, but I mean, they didn't really do anything with him in the trilogy. They did a little bit with Finn for a couple of movies. I like Rey. I want to see more Rey.
I have another question.
Yeah.
I have a question though. If they're going to give us a sequel trilogy to the sequel trilogy, does that mean that we're going to see another Death Star?
No, it will be.
It's going to be bigger than
a
Star
space killer
You turn a
fortress.
sun into this.
You know, I have to disagree with you a little bit, Eric. I don't think they were thinking about any of this stuff because they couldn't even plan their way into a trilogy.
True.
You know, from the beginning, they didn't have a plan for that. I'm like, you're planning
apples and
2 or 3
oranges,
trilogies
Lou.
down the road. I don't think so.
Apples and oranges.
But I do think.
Yeah, they're both fruit though. They're both fruit.
I think they've learned I don't know if they've learned all the lessons that needed to be learned, but I think they've learned an important lesson. I think we're seeing that bear fruit in how the Mandalorian has been approached. Well, I'll give Book of Boba Fett the benefit of the doubt, but we're seeing at least a semblance of caution in how things are being rolled out. You saw the brakes get put on in terms of movie projects, and things seem to be a little bit more deliberate. They're going with the closest thing to a sure thing as possible for next year, or is it 2022 or 2023 for Rogue Squadron? I mean, that's as close to a slam dunk as you can get in terms of the ingredients of a Star Wars movie. But everything else has been sort of up in the air, and they've been cautious even to publicly say anything about it. So I'd like to think that they're being a little more judicious about it. That said, that gives it's up to them whether they leverage the sort of vision of a Filoni or a Feige or whoever. You pick your creative lead on things, but the most important ingredient is to have sort of an overarching Lucas style vision to tie the whole thing together, because you can switch out creators. The original trilogy was a great example of that. Lucas directs one, hands off the reins, and we still get magic in 5 and 6, but you still need that connective tissue of where the story is going.
They will not do a trilogy again without having an overall executive producer who's hands-on. They won't. It would be suicide as far as like any sort of fan support would be. They just won't happen.
I'm going to buy a T-shirt and send it to Lucasfilm. The one that says, fail to plan to fail. Yeah. So somebody can wear that at the top at the meetings they go to.
Mediocre Modeler has mentioned the Death Dyson sphere. Or Joe mentions the Borg. I think that would be a fantastic crossover.
But that's a good example of the type of baddie that could really work in the Star Wars galaxy, and they've already got the pieces out there. The Grisk are a great example from the Thrawn world, where they don't have, there's no super weapon involved. It's not like and I'm going to probably open up a flank of mine here, but it's not like the Borg ever had some super weapon that would just devastate an entire world or anything like that. They were very powerful, but it was just an overwhelming, unrelenting enemy. That was the Yuuzhan Vong in the
which I liked as a concept. I liked it.
Yeah,
so did I.
Fantastic.
We've not had that. We've not had this. The Empire was just different in terms of its overwhelmingness. This sort of external to the galaxy threat, whether it's the Grisk or some other entity, where you don't have to create a first order, some internal baddie and backwards engineer the politics that get you there or whatever. This is just some alien force coming into the known galaxy, and I think that's the perfect kind of setup.
You're not beholden to anything, right? You're not beholden to fan service. No. You're not beholden to hey, how do we bring back Han, Luke, and Leia? You're not beholden to any of that stuff. You can go out
in
fresh.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you have to throw Chiss in there somewhere, but otherwise, it's so open.
Yeah.
Right. But also, as a thematic device, that could be a way to unite everything against this common enemy.
That's exactly it. That's the strength of the MCU. Right. You get the audience sort of cheering, and it opens up pathways narratively. for big payoff moments. I mean, I think about the Infinity War saga, and you watch in the build-up movies as you've got all these disparate factions, and then just when you think about the final film there, how good it felt to see some of these factions come together, put aside their differences, and all fight Thanos. I mean, I was in tears in the theater, right, as that final battle, as that movie played out.
Because
and
the
I think
stakes
a lot
were
of
so
people
high,
were.
and the investment was high, and all along the stakes were high. And right now with Star Wars, it's like, okay, there's a super weapon. Some planet's gonna bite it. Sorry, Alderaan. Sorry, Osmium Prime. I mean, somebody's got to go. And then we're gonna send.
And then they defeat the super.
Yeah, we're gonna send a handful of people in to get through some kind of shield you can't get through, and then magically you get through it, to place a bomb in the right spot and get out, and it blows up. Like, we know every time how it's going to play out. The most brilliant thing I've ever seen said about how to make a good Star Wars trilogy right now in the chat room. Joe, is JMS still alive? Meaning Joe Michael Straczynski, the creator of Babylon 5. He said, just pay him big bucks for his story treatment. Boom, problem solved.
Yep.
Whole Star Wars
Comment
issue.
of the night.
So bring him in as an executive producer of all Star Wars content. All due respect to Filoni. I mean, keep Filoni in there too. Have one do TV, have one do movies. The entire Star Wars galaxy is saved right in that single move. Just saying.
Yeah, that'd be good. Although, I mean, I think if we did Filoni and Favreau just kind of running with this, and you guys do your thing, that could be good enough for me.
Absolutely. That's what they need.
And I love the by and large the focus that we have had on pre-episode 4 stuff. We've obviously from Clone Wars and leading into Bad Batch. Name of the show?
Bad Batch.
Bad Batch, but then
Rebels.
Rebels.
All the good ones.
Rebels. Why could I not think of Rebels? But then Rebels, and of course, knowing how Rebels ended with the whole Ezra Thrawn thing, and then with everything that's being built up in novels about Thrawn and the Chiss and all that, like I seems to me they're very strongly telegraphing that they're going to be doing something more in this era. It's something visual. We're going to get film series, maybe both, don't know. Plus Mandalorian is in there and all that. So
I don't want that though.
Yeah, or Mandalorians after Jedi. So like they're giving us a little bit there after Jedi, but so much of this focus still is I think pre-episode 4.
And I know people like that a lot, and that's great. I don't. I want to go forward from there. I want to get out of that and move into post episode 9 stuff. I want to keep going forward. I don't want to keep circling and looping back over and over and over again to what's happening during the original trilogy. I think we've milked that cow about as much as we can get. And I get that there's still stuff between episodes 3 and 4, and that's great. And there's 30 years between 6 and 7.
Characters.
Huh?
The thing is, there's great characters and great stories that they have. Like, you look down the hallway and you see all those doors, and you have, a door that's labeled Sabine, and a door that's labeled Ahsoka, and a door that's, all these different doors down there. I want to see them do more going down this hallway and opening those doors. It's almost to me that, like, okay, you've built this whole thing and say we have it in a box. Well, let's finish the current project before we start something else. That's kind of like what it seems like to me. You have all this great potential inside the box. Let's work with that. And I'm not opposed to brand new content outside that box necessarily, but I also don't like the shotgun approach. And to me, it does kind of feel it's okay. So we have something that's before episode 4, something that's after episode 6, and they're going to do something that's after the sequel trilogy.
High Republic.
We also have the High Republic books that's before the prequels. So it's like, okay, I to one extent, sure, something for everyone, but also if you're not doing really well at one thing, you can't expect that you're going to do really well at all these things.
I also think, Tim, I think you're right. I also think that there's a branding and a synergy piece that is a part of this as well. That and I'm not saying that you have to plug something in just because you've got other content for it, but in new canon, I think they have, in High Republic was, I think, the first big attempt to try to change the narrative on this. They have struggled to recruit masses of casual fans and masses of newer fans to the external material for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
One of the biggest ways that you could change that is to suddenly have some serious synergy between that material. There's been some of it, it's been hit or miss here and there, but to have like really connective tissue between lead-in material and your current material. They tried the stuff that led up to The Force Awakens really made me excited and made me feel like, man, I had better go read Aftermath. I had better go out and look at Lost Stars and all these other books. And then the movie came out and you were like, these felt completely disjointed.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Completely.
And great stories, but they didn't relate at all or hardly at all to what we got in the movies.
Yeah. Exactly. And I had that expectation where I was like, I'm reading to Eric's point earlier, I should care about all of this stuff because, I'm going to need to remember it. I'm going to it's going to enhance my viewing of The Force Awakens when it comes out. And then, I think about the world we would live in, like the world I would live in as a fan, if there had been that tissue there or the stronger connectivity. I'd be going back and reading those books. I'd be craving more, like out there tweeting about it. Like now it's like it's all good content. I was glad that I read it, but and then, did it change my
High Republic? There's nothing connecting it to anything. It's just kind of off on its own little island. And Lou, go ahead with what you're going to say, and then we're going to move on to the Finn thing real quick before we log out for the night.
Sure. I think we've said this before on other shows that it's tough to try to tie fans to external material if they're not a real big huge fan of this. It's just like we talked about this with the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie. They had that. Was an app thing, I think, on iOS. It was a 3 or 4 book comic series leading up to the movie that made the movie a lot better, but nobody read it. And it was like, well, okay, so it made a lot more sense if you watched that beforehand. It would have made more sense if they did a movie for the new for the High Republic era,
right? And
then try to get people involved in a book. I mean,
Disney Plus series,
or exactly, because that would give you some visual things to hook people and bring them in.
And they said they're going to do one kind of at the end of that chronology, apparently, with the Acolyte. But then if it's at the end of that chronology, and that's where people come in and they're all confused, then they have to go back and read the history leading up to it. It's like, giving somebody the last 4 chapters of a book and then saying, oh, yeah, by the way, go pick up the rest of it somewhere else.
And it's intimidating.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it really is. You don't want to try to go down that road because you'll just end up getting lost and confused. Before we go, real quick thoughts. Finn Disney Plus series, yes or no? Tom, I know you've got a heart out here in a few minutes, so I'm going to start with you. Your quick thoughts on that.
Absolutely. Yeah? Give it to me. Boyega is supremely talented. To see him still beyond the paycheck, still interested in exploring the character is really encouraging. And the best thing about The Rise of Skywalker, the thing that I just craved more of, I thought the tone and the interactions between him, Poe, and Rey were just the absolute best part of that movie. That's where those 3 characters really came into their own and blossomed. And I really wanted to see, I think you saw a dimension of Finn that I sat there at the end of the movie, like, tell me more. What's your secret? I know your secret, but what's your secret? Like, spit it out. Like, let's explore this sort of thing. And then the movie ends. Yeah. So by all means.
Okay. Tim, what do you think?
I totally agree. And I'm saying this, maybe it seems obvious when they're going to position this, but maybe it's not. I don't want to see anything that is Finn prior to episode 7. Well, I don't want to see any First Order Academy kind of stuff.
That's kind of
exactly
been suggested.
And I really hope it isn't.
I agree.
I just that it seems to me that, sure, maybe he had some doubts, obviously prior to episode 7, but it was the stuff that happened in episode 7 that truly like that's what formed the character.
Right. He hadn't taken those steps prior to episode 7, so everything leading up to it, what's there to watch?
Exactly. So give me something that's after the sequel trilogy. I love the character. I definitely want to see more about him. He has this great energy, and it's like there's this bit of innocence while still wanting to like be a hero. And I love that, like, we're still discovering that character. Sometimes you get a character and you're given that character 100%. Like, they completely define, here's who the character is, and here's who the character is always going to be. With Finn, they've really, like, given us the foundation of this character, and he's grown some, and I think there's a lot more potential for that character to grow and evolve.
Absolutely. In the chat room, Mediocre Modeler said, Finn, yes, with the sidebar of Rose. Lou, we've got about 3 minutes left. Go ahead and give us your opinion, and then we'll wrap up. What do you think?
I'll answer that question with this, because I just finally found this.
Back it up a little from your camera, because you're blurring it out there.
Yeah, sorry. So you can't see it, but it's the Finn Black Series figure of him in the Stormtrooper armor with the red, handprint. So yeah, I am all in for a Finn series. I agree with I think it was Tim that said doesn't want to have this being him, in the Empire or in the First Order and kind of growing up with that, because who needs to see a bunch of episodes about the sanitation worker, in Stormtrooper armor? That just doesn't work for me. It could be, hey, Sanford and Son, this is it. This is the Star Wars version of Sanford and Son.
No. No, I'll let you get Red Fox in a Stormtrooper outfit, and then I'm okay.
Red Fox checking in. No, I think it'd be good to have this. I would like to see him explore this character. I mean, this to me is new content, because it's not the original trilogy characters. This is new characters being expanded on.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, quite honestly, I don't think there's anything more boring than seeing someone go through First Order boot camp. Maybe the only thing that might be more boring than that is seeing someone going through First Order attorney training. I don't know, Tom, thoughts?
You're trying to trigger
and
me
with
here
that,
and bait me into something.
I think we're going to wrap the episode.
I see what you're doing.
So, don't forget to head over to our Discord server. Go to randomchatter.com/escape hatch, or there's a link if you're watching this on YouTube. There's a link in the comments below. And we will have a link there as well to the trivia contest that Tom was talking about, the trivia tournament. Definitely check that out. You will not regret it. I'm telling you. What else? Subscribe on YouTube. Hit the like button. Hit the notification bell. If you're listening to this via audio, that's fine too. But remember, there's always YouTube, where you can see Lou over there trying to get his Force Chatter t-shirt into the shot there.
No. This is where you get your own Force Chatter
t-shirt. You can get your own
yeah.
Force Chatter t-shirt. You can go to randomchatter.com/store. And you can pick up a Force Chatter t-shirt, a Random Chatter t-shirt. We have Guardians of the MCU, yes. I think we have the Type Beam. We've got Movie Chatter, all kinds of stuff there. And that helps support the network. Plus, you get a cool t-shirt out of it. And they're actually good quality t-shirts, too. I'm not just saying that. They're like, I'm impressed.
They really are.
Yeah, Tim was the one that made that decision. I was kind of like, why didn't you ask us? I'm like, no, I don't even care now. Like, that was...
T-Public's good.
Good stuff. Definitely. That's going to do it. So if you're sticking around in the live stream here, we're going to be back in probably 10 or 15 minutes with Random Chatter reviews. And we are going to be doing, this will be a YouTube exclusive, trailer breakdown. Returns tonight. We're going to be covering the trailer for Matrix 4. We're going to be breaking it down frame by frame, including all those little teaser shots from the website leading into the trailer release the couple of days prior. We're going to be breaking them down frame by frame. You're not going to want to miss it. So stick around. If you're watching this later, hit that video as well. There's going to be some good stuff in it. That's going to do it for this episode of Force Chatter. Until next time, take care.